Good day. This is the second part of the React Native application with API integration. So on the first part, we have created a new React Native project, implemented React Native stack, and used the React Native API get method to display the list of students. So now we will create a new file named student info screen to display the information of the selected students. So first we will import the following. We will import the following inside the created screen or component. So let's create a new file. Let's name it student info screen.js. So let's copy some of this here, but we just need the viewed flat list. Maybe no, we don't need that, or let's add it first. And list item avatar, but instead we use icon and a button. Then include the following code for the default function, and these states will store the values of the input fields for the student number, first name, middle name, last name, etc. Let's copy this one. Let's name it student info screen. Then the constant student number, getter, the setter method set student number, and React that use state, the default value will be a blank screen. So for the first name, middle name, last name, date of birth is male, and an extra one. So first name, so set first name. For the middle name, set middle name. For the last name, let's copy this one, set last name. Then date of birth, copy, set date of birth is male, copy that one, set is male. And this one will be for the buttons, is disabled add, set is disabled add, or set disable add, and the default will be false. Okay, then now let's add a list item for the input fields for each column inside the flat list. Okay, here the default return let's add the flat list, and the list header components will be this one. We will have a view, a view. Then let's add a style for the view. Let's add a vertical padding vertical, padding vertical, and set to 8. And inside the view we have a list item, then inside the list item we have a list item content, and list item title will be student number. So first for the student number, then let's add a list item input, for the input we will have placeholder will be enter student number, and on change text we will set the value we'll store the value inside student number. So let's call the setter method for the student number, and the value will be whatever the value of the student number. Okay, let's also add the bottom divider. So that for the student number, and let's copy it up to the date of birth. Okay, then let's add the remaining list item for the remaining input fields. We have first name, the getter for first name, the setter for first name. So here, instead of enter student number, we add enter first name. Next, for the middle name, enter middle name, setter for middle name, getter for middle name, then the last name, enter last name, set last name, get last name. Okay, then for the date of birth, enter date of birth, the setter for the date of birth, the date of birth value, and lastly for the gender. This is sex. Then instead of input, we will use a button group, and the buttons will be female and male. Selected index will be the value of is male, and to change the value, so on press, we will change the index and call the setter method for set is male. So this will be 0 and 1. Save. And let's also add a button for the add and return function. So we'll get rid of the go back home. Where's go back home? Oh, it's inside student. Oh no, a button for the student info screen. So here below, let's add a button. Maybe we have two buttons. Yes, we will just use the button from the theme. We now have a button, and on press, we'll call the navigation and navigate to students. So this will be the return button. Let's add the space for the icon. Then type is solid, and you can also refer from the documentation. So here we have the button from React Native Elements, and here are the props. Type solid, container style, we have margin horizontal 16, the vertical margin will be half of that, it's 8, and the border radius will also be 8. Then let's now add an icon, but I have not yet included an icon. Oh, we already have an icon from the React Native Elements. Chevron left. It's from Font Awesome, and the color will be white. Okay. And for now, let's create a function and display the values of the input fields. So here, let's create a function constant post student info and console.log student number okay, first name, middle name, last name, date of birth is male. Value of first name, value of middle name, value of last name, value of date of birth, and value of is male. Okay. So let's now test the newly created screen. So import, go back to app.js and import student info screen. And here we add the new screen. We'll name it student info. Component will be student info screen. Let's check. Reload. Okay. Then so since student info screen is hidden from the drawer, but we have not yet used the drawer, this will only be called by an add student button in the student screen. So let's add a button in the student screen. So here we have a button. Let's just copy that one and place it right above the top. Icon does not exist. Okay, we have not imported the button and icon. Okay, let's just change this from return to add student, and the screen name is student info, and the icon will be plus. Solid. Okay, let's try. So here it is. If you click add student, it will open the student info screen. Click return, it will go back to student. Okay, but we do not have an add student button yet. Okay, let's add an add student. Okay, let's copy this one again and paste it above the return button. And on press, instead of navigating, we will call the post student info function. So let's try adding a value. Okay, for the Ismail, let's change this to 0. Reload, go to student, add student, so that female will be selected as default. Okay. Now, instead of displaying the values inside the console, in student info screen's post student info function, let's first check if student number, first name, middle name, last name, and date of birth has values. We will not check Ismail since it already has a default value of 0 or 1 if the sex is set to male. So if student number has a value and first name has a value, and middle name has a value, and last name and date of birth. Then we will call again the fetch API, but we will add a form data, and we will also set the add button. We will also disable the add button. So let's first disable the add button. Set disable add as true. Okay, let's code it later, and add the form data as new form data. Oh, it's form data. Then add these values. So form data dot append student number, and the value will be student number for the first name, middle name, last name, sex, and DOB. These are the values. Oops. And as you can see, these ones are different because these are what the API is looking for. So as you can see here, in post, it will look for the FN, MN, LN, sex, DOB, and student number. So that's what we pass from our Acnity project to the API. And let's just copy the fetch code from the student screen. Here, copy, paste it here. And the method will be post, and we will also include additional headers. So here it will have a body. The body will be the form data, the values from the form data. Okay, console. Let's print the result. Remove this one and set the button to disable to false. Okay, let's try it. Reload. Go to students, add student. So if you click add, it will not do anything because it doesn't have a value yet for the remaining input fields. Add student. Sex is required. Student record successfully inserted. And maybe we have an error in our API. So if the value is 0, it's still asking for a value. So we can comment this one since we already have a default sex which will be 0 or 1. Let's try adding a female. Add student. Refresh. So we now have successfully inserted a new student record. So here, if insert is successful, we will go back to the student screen and set the value to blank or 0. Let's go up. So here, set disable. So if the result dot meta dot code is equal to 200, so this one, if the result is 200, so here, that means the data is successfully inserted. Then we will navigate back to the student screen. Okay, navigate and call the setter method for the student number. We'll set this to blank for the first name, for the middle name, for the last name, for the date of birth, and for the sex is the default is 0. So let's try to add again, and it go back to the student screen. Okay, then in the student screen, we have to refresh the data by calling the API get once the screen is focused. Because let's delete first some of the records. And as you can see here, once a new data is added, it did not refresh. There are still 3 student records, but if we refresh here, we have 4 records. So let's do so. In student screen, we add another effect. Constant focused navigation dot add listener focus. So once this screen is focused, we will call the get student info function. Start return focused and the navigation. Okay, refresh. Okay, we have 4 students. Add a new one. Add student. Then we now have 5 student records. Now we go to put and delete. So for put and delete, we will reuse the student info screen. So in student screen, let's just add the function that accepts a parameter and opens the student info screen. So if one of these is pressed, it will open the student info screen. So here, let's add function. So list pressed, it will accept an ID and navigate into the student info screen and pass in a parameter. So the value of the ID will be passed into the student info screen. Then we call the list pressed function when a list item is pressed and pass the student number. So let's go here. So list item. So on press, we will call the list pressed function and pass the student number. So here it's now opening the student info screen, but it does not display the student information. To do so, inside student info screen, we import use route for us to access the passed parameter. So inside student info screen, let's import use route from, or let's just add it here since it's from React navigation. Then Here, let's create a constant route is equal to use route. Then check if a parameter is passed. So if route dot params is not equal to undefined, let's print the parameter route dot params dot id. So let's reload. If we click add student, it did not pass a parameter, but if we click from this list, it will pass the student number. Here it's 1200702. Here it's 9999. So instead of just printing the student number, we have to get the value of the student information using the student number. So before we proceed, open first your API to check if there is already a get method that accepts a parameter. So in our case, the student number. So if none, add a parameter for the student method which has a default value of null. So let's open our API and check inside the get method, or here the student method, it does not accept a student number yet. So let's add sn is equal to null. Then inside the get method, check if the student number doesn't have a value, then return all record. But if there is a value, filter the record using the student number. So by default, we are returning all student details. But if a student number is passed, we just have to return the student info using that specific student number. So if the student number has a value, here, else this one, else display all student information. So let's just copy this one here and open the student model. Check if we have, yes, if we have a get student info by sn, and pass the student number. Okay, it's the same. But if you do not have the method yet, this get student info by sn, here's the code for that. Then let's go back to our React Native project. Let's now create a function with get method in student info screen. So here we can also copy the code from the student screen. This one. And paste it here. But rename it to, or you can retain that, but this one should accept a parameter. So here we also add that parameter. Okay, let's comment this first. Okay, then if there is a parameter passed in student info screen, we will call the get student info function instead of printing the student number inside the console. Let's cut that one, remove, save. Okay, let's reload. Let's check the error. Undefined is not a function. Reload. Why is this causing? Okay. It should be declared before this one. Let's clear. Select a student. Okay, then it's now displaying the information of that specific student. So you let's clear again. Click 1111. It's now displaying the information of a specific student. Then, instead of printing the student info in the console or terminal, we just have to use the state hook to change the values. So here we can use this and paste it here, and we will get the result of each one. Get the student number. Next, let's paste this for the remaining setter methods, and change this to first name, for the last name, the middle name. I have the student number, for the sex, and the date of birth. It's one so that it's a string, so let's parse this into an integer. You can now change the can I change the value? Okay. Okay, since we will now be editing the record, we now need to disable the add button. Okay, let's disable the add button. Put that here. But it did not disable. Disabled. So it has a disabled prop. So where's the button? Button for add student. So disabled will be the value of is disabled add. There. We now disable the add button. Next is we also create the state for the edit button. So above here is disable edit. Set disable edit. Then add an edit button. Let's copy this one. Edit student. Set is disabled edit. And instead of a plus, we'll change this to a pencil. Let's check. Oh, it's pencil. Okay, let's reload. Okay. Then let's also create a put student info method. You can just copy paste the post student info method and change from form data to URL search params. Then the method from post to put, and in the fetch body convert form data to string. Okay, let's do so. Copy the post student info, rename this, change this to put student info, change from form data to URL search params, then form data dot to string, and change this to set disable edit true, set disable edit to false. Or we can put this inside the inside here, or no, it should be outside, or we can just retain that here. Okay, let's try editing the data, or I forgot the method to from post to put. Okay, I think okay, instead of editing, it creates a new student record. We have to check the phpMyAdmin. Maybe the student number is not set as the primary key. So open phpMyAdmin. Okay, let's delete the duplicate data. Okay, that's it. Student structure. Yes, it's not set as the primary key. Here's the primary key. Okay, it's now set as the primary key. Let's try editing the data again. Okay, it has an error. JSON parse unexpected D. Okay, let's oh, it did not call the put student info, but it called the post student info. We forgot to change this one. Okay, let's reload. And that's why it was creating a new record. Oh, it's asking for the value of sex. Let's also edit that one. Let's edit put and comment this one. Save. Let's try it again. Student record is now successfully updated. And to clear the input fields every time the student info screen is focused, add the following code. Okay, let's add that code here. Okay, just type in react.useEffect and constant clear. Oops. Constant clear navigation dot add listener focus. So if this is focused, set disable add false, then where are the okay, this one here, save, add student, edit, add student. Okay, then for the delete, let's just add a delete button. We can copy this one and we'll call the delete student info. So let's delete. This one will be a trash. Pause. Load. Maybe this is, we do not need this one. Or we forgot to return the clear function and add navigation. Okay, let's try it again. Okay, let's comment that one. For the add student, where is it? So here, the add is enabled, but the edit should be disabled. Let's reload. Wait. The add, edit. For edit, the add button is disabled. For add, the edit button should be disabled. So else true. So for add, too many renders. Let's fix that later. Let's first fix the delete button. So for the delete button, we have trash. The color should, it's white. 16 is disabled edit, but we do not have a delete student info yet. Let's do this first. Enable the edit and delete button after API get. So, okay, let's do so. Get student info. Oops, edit. Reload. Okay, then we now add a delete student info method. Let's copy the put method. First, this one, copy, paste. Rename this to delete. And for the delete, we have to accept an ID parameter. So let's delete this one. Oh no, it's wrong one. For delete, we just need the student number. So let's remove this console.log. We only need the student number. You only pass the student number. Change this from put to delete. Okay. Okay, let's try to delete this one. So it's now, but it has an error. Possible unhandled promise. Okay, let's check that later. Okay, that's it. But we have to fix some of the errors. Let's try to reload the project. Add a new student. Okay, but if we press the add student button, the edit and delete button should be disabled. Here in the student screen, nope, it should be here. Let's set this to true. Okay, let's try again. Okay, this should be set to true as default. And let's try to delete. Okay, where is this error? Where did we use student number? Okay, let's just fix the error for the next video, since this is already, the video is already too long.